These are the videos Iran doesn't want you to see. Police firing in the streets, women cutting their hair, burning hijabs in rage, students' demonstrations. People have taken to the streets across Iran, angry at the government after a woman died while in police custody.
Live ammunition against unarmed civilians. The UN and other international bodies have condemned the use of force, which it describes as excessive. Its Human Rights Office says tear gas canisters fired directly at protesters is a violation of international standards.
Okay. Yeah. I fuck with my flow now, but you're right. Establishing shot. There are no borders between us, only frontiers to explore. No hinterlands to conquer, oceans are but a distant shore. Outstriders leap from frame, gutting pain from every loss. No trenches dug divide us, only thresholds yet to cross. Welcome one and all to Autodidact University, where we explore the known knowns, the unknown knowns, and the garden gnomes. We're not haughty, but we're into horticulture. Sebastian, mate, how you doing?
I'm doing good again.
You're revved up and raring to go. Episode 8.
Episode 8.
It's too late to turn back now, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, I was telling you.
Oh,
We're
Jesus,
gonna make it.
You said, that was one of your visions and daydreams, wasn't it? Yeah.
I'm charging it.
And today...
So what are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about... the title of this is called The Global Melting Wok. And to mix, stir-fried knowledge-based here. And so I thought, how can I make a joke with wok and wool at the same time? And then I thought of the perfect guest to invite here today.
Yeah.
And a bit of an outsider himself, Mr. Dominic O'Fahey. Welcome to Outstriders podcast.
Thank you very much.
So Dominic, we're gonna do a fancy intro. We're gonna try, aren't we, Joe? We're gonna try and do a fancy intro on you and that, and build you up. And but at the same time, I wonder if you could just clarify, because you're a musician, obviously, and got a concert coming up in a couple of days' time, and. So, but your day job, so if you could just clarify that.
Well, basically, I mean, after I left music, I had to reschool myself and studied law. So, I work as a civil servant, and I've, for the last 20 years, worked with immigration-related issues. So it comes to all involving refugees, asylum seekers, resettlement of refugees. So, I mean, that's the kind of area of business I'm in.
Immigration lawyer, would that be fair to?
Yeah, I mean, because it's all law-based, and I mean, I'm using my legal skills for immigration law.
You're at ease with the legalese.
I'm at ease with the legalese, absolutely.
I might need some help. You remember when I applied for Norwegian citizenship and got a no?
Really?
Yeah. I mean, my mum's Norwegian. I've lived there most of my life. and I speak the lingo. I'm fully integrated. And so, yeah, I got a no, a negative, and well, they said that to become a Norwegian citizen, you have to have decent behaviour. Decent? I mean, is that in the Constitution? You sure? Which paragraph is decent?
It's the actual the Citizen Act, I'm sure. I mean, there is one paragraph there which goes
into decency.
Not decency, but more criminality.
Yeah, well, this was way before my criminal time that didn't exist. But I was young and naive at that time, you know. So it's just a bit of political shit, you know, occupying houses, fighting the man on the barricades, burning our braziers. So it was kind of innocent. And so but I want to apply again.
Yeah, I think you should.
Yeah, yeah. I think most of it, you know, it's water under the bridge now, slaughter under the bridge. So that they've forgotten all that shit by now, I reckon.
Most likely. I think you'll be quite eligible for Norwegian citizenship at this point.
Yeah, and I'm more decent now than ever.
Well, you say that, I couldn't possibly comment.
No, of course, typical Foreign Office immigration lawyer speak there. Yeah, got to be neutral, haven't we? So, but we're all immigrants here, so there's nothing to hide. So, on the basis of that, okay, I have a sort of j'accuse query for you, just to lighten the mood. And the important thing is we got to avoid stuff and topics and opinionated things that could put you in between the devil and the deep blue sea in your job. So respect that, Sebastian.
Sure.
Yeah. Thinking of, so to dive straight in, as a kind of civil servant for the Norwegian Foreign Office monstrosity bureaucracy, should we annex Greenland back? I mean, screw the Danes. The Norwegians were there with our imperial acquisitions way before the Danes. And so, okay, we died out, you know, should have built an igloo. But do you think we should, I mean, Norway, by all rights, we should be the ones taking back Greenland, shouldn't we?
Well, quite frankly, I think you should ask the Inuits about what
the Inuits. Yeah. Well, they are the hardy people. They're the only ones that can live there. Quite frankly, there's no one tougher. So
Well,
we might cut this bit out for Patreon. But what do you call a gay Eskimo?
I don't know.
Inuit. I've got a follow up to that. That's totally off topic. What do you call a gay Anatolian?
Have no idea.
Hittite. That's for the erudite academics out there. Okay. So what's it been like? You know, you're more English than I am.
Sort of ethnically, but I don't know. Yeah.
But do you feel more Norwegian or more English, or doesn't it matter?
Well, I don't know. I seem to oscillate. You know, sometimes I feel Norwegian. I think I feel less and less English. I mean, because I never really lived there, so I mean, I don't really have. I mean, I haven't kept up the connection with Britain after my grandparents died, and I mean, I didn't have any aunt and uncles. So at some point, we stopped going to England for a long period of time, and but I've gone to very many other places which I sort of
that England once owned.
Some of them, yeah.
So it's close enough.
But so I mean, I think I've told you before because you've asked me before, and I mean, I think what I do feel. I mean, I feel like a Bergenser. You know, I feel I feel a
Bergen.
strong.
You can take the boy out of Bergen, but never Bergen out of the boy.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up there, and although I haven't lived there for very many years, I still feel sort of connected to the city because that's where I grew up.
It's like the fish people, isn't it? People from Bergen, because you can still see the scars of the gills even after they moved, because it is the most precipitous town in human civilization, isn't it? I mean, it rains more there. It's like the world's largest topographical urinal on constant flush.
Yeah, but I mean, historically, Bergen was very international and cosmopolitan. And I mean, you partly grew up there yourself. So, I mean,
Yeah.
and when I was growing up, I did meet a lot of people with international background, or at least, you know, a background which wasn't, you know, just from Norway.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, very much so. It was the old capital, Björgvin, back in the old days.
Yeah.
The first case of bubonic plague happened downtown Björgvin, you know, probably along the seafront where all the brothels were.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And a strong German presence, Danish presence.
Yeah, the
and-
Hanseatic League.
Yeah, and I mean also, you know, Irish, not so much Irish, Scots, you know, through trade.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
So,
So it's not just, you know, the people of Innsmouth, to quote a Lovecraft story about the Dagon fish people. Because, you know, I love Bergen, or many aspects of it, but it does piss down a hell of a lot, doesn't
yeah,
it?
yeah,
So,
no.
yeah, and you've moved to Oslo as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I lived there for a long time.
You
now,
did,
so I
you
don't
did.
really
We all-
I don't miss the weather.
No. It was quite an experience. And the feeling of, you know, because it's surrounded by mountains as well, the 7 mountains. But every time I count, I get to at least 9 or 12 before I'm counting the same one again. And if you're there for more than a month, you know, you turn away and then they edge closer into the middle. So at the end, and after 3 months, you're in a funnel on constant piss flush. So, but the wind blows in from the North Sea, so you know it clears out the air, so it doesn't smell so bad.
No.
No, Bergen's really great. So living in Norway, we're kind of privileged, aren't we? Even you, Sebastian, you know.
It's gold here. It's gold here.
It's the streets are paved with gold.
Absolutely.
kind of thing.
But you have to wear wool all the way down.
Yeah, you have to acquire more clothing, don't you? Yeah.
And drink tea a lot, so you won't get sick.
Yeah, because beer's fucking expensive, isn't it? So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can buy. I'm not sure if I can say this, but you can buy alcohol only certain time.
Oh, I hate
And,
that, yeah. The wine
and only
monopoly.
in one shop actually.
Yeah.
Which is strange for me.
The wine
because
monopoly.
in Slovakia you can come drunk as fuck to shop even at like, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the morning and no problem. You can continue.
Oh, that's civilization.
Yep.
So but you know, Norway's attitude to wine monopoly, that's a grape date. A date grape.
Yeah.
So it's just so out of date, the whole idea of the monopoly thing. I mean, sometimes.
Well, okay.
Do you disagree?
Yes, of course I do.
Oh.
No, but it is. I mean, of course you can say what you want about
good
opening
things.
hours and such like. But I mean, in actual fact, the wine monopoly does have an upside. I mean, in so much that it's run not for profit, because it's state-run.
Yeah.
And it's run by people who really know a lot about wine. And since it's one of Europe's single biggest importers of wine, that also means that they have access to a lot of very, very good wine. And the people who select the wine really know what they're doing. So if you go into the Vinmonopolet and you only intend, I'm talking about wine now, and you only intend to spend 200 kroners, and you ask some person working there, you know, you're going to get something good, you know. Unlike you go to any, you know,
Off license
or any sort of even a crappy, you know, supermarket in France.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get shit.
You can, half
Or
the shit.
it's a chance. I mean,
it is more of a risk.
So you know, it's
And
serious.
half the shit in the English off licenses now is just this,
particularly
sweet
Britain.
Californian wine cooler crap.
Well, I mean, the Australians made their name on selling crappy, cheap Australian wine to the English.
Huh.
But then they kept the good stuff for themselves.
That's for sending us over as convicts.
Yeah,
It's their
well, you know.
revenge.
No, because there is good Australian wine, but I mean it can't compete with in Europe. It can't compete with the big producers like France and Italy. So
Okay. I understand this. This is a small country, right? It's like only 5 million people here, so I got it. From this perspective, that the state is. That's the policy here.
I understand if you have a libertarian point of view. I mean, of course, then if you're ideologically opposed to the fact, that the state should decide or have some kind of regulation on alcohol, fine, I can understand that. But if you're not opposed, like I happen to be, I think that the system we have at least is the best, you could expect. I mean, of course, it could be open a little longer.
Yeah, but that's the main thing I'm opposed to. They're horrible opening hours.
Yeah, but if you plan,
I'm more of a post-planner than a pre-planner. Captain Hindsight, world's most annoying superhero.
But I mean, this is white man's problems.
It is, because we, as the 1% of the luckiest bastards in the world, kind of, it's safe here. I mean, I might be dirt fucking poor as a poet, but then that's part of my identity. So, but the opportunities to get some cash in Norway and live a decent life are on the mean average, they're the least mean of the whole planet, probably. I think I tell people, in about 1,000 years' time, future people in the future, they're going to look back on Norway, kind of how we look back on Athens as a beacon of enlightenment, without the misogyny, slavery, and boy buggery, of course. So, and we are a lighthouse, a beacon of rational thought as well. Of course, we're super fucking wealthy at the same time, and the way Norway employs their wealth as a weapon, they could employ it perhaps a bit more sharply.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, if you just want to talk about Norway, but I mean, I think the Nordic countries in general, I mean, of course, grant that Sweden has some challenges right now because of certain structural problems, and not the least because of immigration and integration. Yeah, I mean, to be honest.
Yeah,
but I mean, if you look at the standard of living and the general values of Sweden, Denmark, Finland, and Norway, I mean,
Iceland.
Yeah, well, they're so small. I mean, they don't.
They don't really count.
No, they're all related.
Well, they got volcanoes.
No, but I mean, the thing is that if you look at the Nordic countries as a whole, I mean, I think, the basic values are the same.
They are very similar. Yeah. I suppose it's perhaps due to the extreme topography of Scandinavia that they're so different as well. I mean, Finland has the lakes. Sweden has, lakes and nice mountains. They got a bit of everything. Norway, forest. mountains and mostly mountains. And then Denmark, there's a flat strip of land sticking out of Europe's head. So, yeah. And I think, I can see that.
And no creativity, because all your flags, are all the same, and English too.
Well, the flags are crap, but the English combination of them makes the Union Jack quite iconic. So perhaps if Scandinavia united, they'd become a superpower, wouldn't they? But they'd be too reasonable. They wouldn't want to take over the rest of the planet. They'll take over the rest of the world through good arguments.
Yeah, but I mean, if we don't have to get into politics, but it just so happens, I kind of tend to support Norway's membership into the EU, and one of the reasons is that because Norwegians tend to think that Norway, if they joined the EU, it would we're only 5 million people, we wouldn't have a voice. But that's not true, because if you saw the Nordic countries as a bloc, that would be a considerable political force which could seriously influence, the direction that the EU took. And if you got other countries like, let's say,
Hungary,
Holland, or the Netherlands, because I think we share, in my experience, a bit of the similar values. I mean, then you would have a bloc which really could influence maybe the direction which the EU goes, and maybe be a kind of buffer against the more unhealthy aspects of some of the European policies.
The Luxembourg hyper-capitalism bankers getting away with everything. I mean, Iceland was the only country that I think they sent some bankers to jail for the big crash. What was the one in 2011?
2008, after the aftermath of 2000. Oh no, I don't know in Iceland particularly.
We're probably having a bit later in Iceland. The price of piss went down. Iceland smells like piss. Okay, it's the sulphur from all their hot springs and geysers and volcanoes. Neither have I. I'd love to go, but all my friends that have been there, they say, once you get over the stink, I mean, normally you're in, I'm out, but once you get over that, then it's a lovely place. Not a tree in sight, but brilliant volcanoes. And they got Bjork, so Reykjavik is a happening town. You got the social balances and graces of Norway, the future Athens to look back upon once we're under a dark dystopian cloud of oppression in the future. They will be looked upon in a light way. Also, I think the wealth, the spreading of the wealth is, even though I don't feel it necessarily, but who am I kidding? I would have been a starving beggar on the streets of Luton if I was still in England. So there is that the spreading of the wealth is it's much better here than most other oil, petroleum, carboniferous, plundering nations. And then you also have the aspect of feminism, go Sappho, that is really important in Norway. Where you've had women who there's quite a good level of equality here. Of course, there'll always be stuff, but there's working with female colleagues. I know we don't have so many here yet, Sebastian, but. One day, and it won't be put the kettle on, love. We won't have a scullery maid.
You have to get me my AI robot.
Your AI sex bot. Yeah. But we'll treat her as an equal. So we will. But the status of women in Norway is much better in comparison to some other countries. And this is my build-up. I'm leading up to this. So what was it like living in Iran? The theocracy that we all know and love, with a fantastic history. Oh, the Arsacid Empire. I mean, how can you get away with that?
Well, I mean, of course, I was living as an expat, so, of course, we lived a very privileged life, just to say, and, of course, that also meant that we lived in a part of, in our case, Tehran, which was also very affluent. So... did you have like a gatekeeper and stuff? A concierge? No, not really. That wasn't necessary because it's completely safe, more or less. Yeah. It's a safe
so it's country. Safe it's like Norway then? It's really pretty safe.
Yeah, sure. It's pretty safe. You don't have street crime, but you don't have street crime in general in Arab countries traditionally anyway. So and not to say that Iran is in any way an Arab country, just in case someone might get offended. No. I'm just clarifying.
Persian.
Middle Eastern, but I mean, is Iran a Middle Eastern country? And that in itself is a very interesting question, because it's midway between the Middle East and India.
Yeah.
So it's somewhere in between, and it has a very distinct culture, which is its own. And of course, one of the reasons why I'm saying this is that after 79, the people who took power then wanted to reinforce the Islamic identity, and there was a certain, the paradox is that, through Islam, they want, and because the Quran is written in Arabic, they kind of, they wanted to kind of strengthen the Islamic kind of not Arab, but Islamic identity. But Iranians hate the Arabs.
Yeah.
And that was before the Iran-Iraq war. And I wouldn't say hate, that's a very sort of simplistic term in a way. But
Detest,
of course,
despise.
no, I think they look down upon the Arabs.
Yeah.
Because there's one thing with the Iranians, they're so proud, or Persians. They're so proud of their own culture.
Yeah.
They feel incredibly superior. And I think they feel very superior to the Arabs. So I think there is a certain amount of resentment of the regime, or, the Islamic regime, which took over. They're kind of embracing this Arab Islamic culture.
Yeah. They were the desert hillbillies, weren't they? When Islam started, because they were just looked down upon totally as just white heathens from the desert. And what was the name of was it the Sassanids? The Byzantine Empire and the Sassanid Empire, I believe, they were the ones that the rise of Islam totally destroyed.
Yes, but
that was based in the Persian tradition, wasn't it? So
no, true. But at the same time, of course, Islam has been the dominant religion in Iran, since very early after the Prophet,
you say the start of the 700s, really, because it went one of the fastest conquests ever.
So it's as sort of embedded in the culture as Christianity was in Norway to very, very recently. So you can't kind of sort of pretend. I know that. When I was living there were Iranians, were dreaming about Zoroastrianism. I know we have to go back to somehow, the pre-Islamic era, and it's all nonsense. You can't deny Islam's influence on Persian culture.
No.
And
just the surnames, because before there was a plethora of various regional surnames for people, and now the most hopeless task ever is to go through an Arabic telephone catalogue. Ali, 700 pages of that. Muhammad, another 1,500. So because the names are so similar, so the address system is like Ali on Omar Street. So that's why they define the areas, locations, addresses in a more subtle way. It's like Ali, son of the carpenter. There's part of the history, the family history that goes into it, isn't there? So, but I remember one of the first really books that really hit me and gave me a love of history was called Crossroads of Civilization, and that was of course the Levant, kind of the Fertile Crescent, and you could say Iraq is kind of like the dead center one with the Tigris and the Euphrates, but the Sumerians were always getting invaded by people called the Gutians. Gutsy folk, and they were from the mountain range that Iran topographically they're on a plateau, aren't they? So that's where the mountains, the Zagreb or something mountains.
The Zarges, is it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, well, the thing is, in Iran, the little I remember of the topography, the thing is that the middle of Iran is desert, so it's not very inhabitable. And there, traditionally, you had nomadic people. So it's around the edges. And the north, which of course is green, and there you have the Zarges Mountains behind Tehran going up to the Caspian Sea, which is much higher. Tehran is on 1,400 to 1,600 meters above sea sea level. So
Right.
I mean, it's
Blimey.
high up. You know,
Yeah.
so, and yeah. But anyway, I mean, I'm not an expert on the geography
one's
of
an
Iran.
expert
But
here.
I mean, just no. But I mean, this is just sort of
Yeah.
remembering, you know,
Yeah.
reminiscing on the.
So there's huge differences in the topography. I mean, it's a big country as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
How many people live there now?
Oh no, I can't remember.
Oh, 70?
70,
Yeah, it's around
between
70.
80 million, maybe. I don't
Yeah,
know, somewhere.
would have been 90 if it wasn't for the Iran-Iraq war, probably. All those young
I mean,
martyrs.
well, it didn't kill off that many people.
About a million.
No, yeah, I mean,
Exaggerate?
less than that, I think. But I mean, it just went on for so long.
It did. Yeah, hopeless thing.
89 million. 23.
Yeah,
That's how many there are.
Iran, yeah.
yeah.
No, they're coming up to 90. Yeah, well, it must be 90 million now.
Yeah,
This was 23.
But I think their population is dwindling. I think they're having a problem with the birth rate.
Well, everyone is these days. You know, it's the inverted pyramid demographically, isn't
But it was very important for Iran because in the period after the revolution, you had this very surge in the population growth, and of course that kind of benefited the regime. You know,
Absolutely, yeah.
So, I mean,
More
because
workers.
that's one thing people forget is that the biggest asset any country has is its population.
It is.
That's what I'm saying.
No,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
true, that's
but
true.
people think about
Absolutely, I
natural
agree.
resources and you know this, that, and the other. But I mean,
Yeah.
in factual facts, it's,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Another aspect. So that's another thing that's similar to Norway. Then they got a lot of mountains.
absolutely.
Yeah. Right now, it seems as though there's hardly any differences. But it was still. It must have been a cultural. A bit of a dipping your big toe in culture shock city in some ways. What were the things that surprised you most? Because from my experience with Iranian people, admittedly mostly from the refugee camps, they are the most polite people I've ever come close to saying hi to. I mean, I thought we had the lowdown on the false politeness of the British Empire.
Well, they're very
We invade you,
differential.
but it's time for tea. But the Iranians, they there's just like it seems much more a genuine politeness.
Well, both yes and no. I mean, yes,
Courteous.
they are very courteous and deferential, absolutely, and it's sort of ingrained in their society, or how you're supposed to behave. I mean, at least.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think the biggest, if not surprise, because I'd been there a couple of times before we moved there, is what I feel it's a disconnect between the official Iran, which of course partly is what the regime wants to portray as Iran,
Propaganda.
and also. And because of that, how a lot of the West perceives Iran, you know, which is partly a result of the propaganda the regime spews, and also
It's kind of their own fault,
but
isn't it?
also the propaganda that the West spews, against Iran.
Yeah.
So you have the disconnect, and how Iranians are.
Yeah, well, they're kind of tripping over their own beards in their council of elders, but everything is taken as ammunition for the people who want to convey a negative view of Iran.
Yeah, but
For
Iranians,
various reasons from the West.
No, but
So-
I mean, and also, and I spoke to Iranians from different walks of life,
Yeah.
you know, in different settings, and they hate the regime.
Yeah.
And they're not very religious. They're very secular-minded.
Yeah.
A
Youth
lot
culture.
more, but a lot more. And of course, I mean, I know. I've had a lot of interaction with Arabs from Arab countries, where I feel that the religious practice is a lot more genuine and sincere. But in Iran, I felt that people were. It was like a post-religious society. You know, these people are ready to leave religion behind.
Yeah,
They're
ready for the Reformation, Renaissance, here we come.
But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm
Here we come
deluded.
to-
Maybe,
back
and another thing is, I was
European values.
operating in an urban environment.
similarities.
I mean, of course, I wasn't much in the countryside.
Yeah.
And maybe it's different there, but most people live in the cities anyway. So I mean, they always say, "Oh, they're a lot more conservative in the rural areas." Yeah, well, how many people live there? I mean,
We don't know.
No.
But there could be loads.
Yeah,
But did you go to Com?
Yes.
Qom.
No, yeah, I've been
Came
there.
to Com.
Yeah, you know, they say that's the
the
place,
holy city.
the holiest city with the most brothels in Iran. That's what.
Oh, it's like the Vatican. Was it in the
Always the same. Always the same.
when you get
the same business.
bunch
That's
of
the same
horny
business.
old men.
I won't say anything.
Yeah,
more
the
than that.
patriarchy in a nutshell, isn't it? Jesus. I mean,
But you know, the Shias have invented a kind of they've legalized prostitution through this institution which is called Sige, which is this temporary marriage.
yeah, you get married for an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all very legal according to
all above
their
board.
interpretation of Sharia.
Yeah.
You know.
They are so creative. This is awesome about like all these belief systems. Like human beings need to keep their reputation as very moral beings.
Yeah.
So they invent all different kinds of
Twisting,
sneaking around.
Yeah. I mean, I want
rules.
to shag my goat and my wife's sister. How can I get around it through the holy words?
My
It's a
wife
holy
always.
passage.
My wife has always had this observation about religions, and she said that no, religions are very accommodating, but it always only applies for men.
Yeah,
It's like you
I was
always
going to
find
say
it.
except for, but yeah.
And she said, like in Islamic culture, there is, for example, when it comes to homosexuality, there is a sort of element of don't ask, don't tell.
Yep.
But it's only for men.
Yep.
As long as it's a bit like your confirmed bachelor uncle.
I mean, yeah. So the weird one.
No, but I mean,
told you
but
about
even in Sudanese society, which she comes from, you have the confirmed bachelor, and everyone knows that he'll never get married, and they all know that he's, let's say, gay, or but you don't really talk about it.
Of course, even the glory holes have to wear the veil. So what isn't out in the open is just you don't discuss it, and of course that sort of clashes with the extrovert gay pride parade. I mean, I'd march in gay pride, but I'm not proud enough. So it does sort of clash with sort of the extrovert identities and commercialism and materialism that on display in the West, but at the same time, I get the feeling that there's a vibrant youth culture in Iran. So sooner or later, the old dudes at the top, they got the last kind of social unrest of note in Iran was caused by the savage and brutal murder of a young lady, a young Kurdish lady. Also mentioned, the Kurds are getting shafted wherever they are. Peshmerga. So the defining these things as as a female inspired rebellion or revolution, then that perhaps that's the way.
I don't know. I mean, sometimes. I mean, I wasn't so optimistic. I mean, the last year I lived there, and colleagues wrote reports, and
what year was that again, mate?
That was 2016-17.
Yeah.
And I also had the impression there was, art going on. You had this sort of underground independent movement of music, art, ballet, dance, and they were doing everything kind of on the side and
difficult
but
do pirouettes in those chad or those.
No. But they managed. Modern dance. But anyway, but the thing is that but I had sort of younger colleagues who interacted a lot more with younger Iranians, but they were not so optimistic, and they said that their impression was that a lot of younger Iranians were very nihilistic. In the way that had a more self-destructive, negative outlook on the future, and to a certain degree, just escaped in drugs, and which is a lot of in Iran because it's very readily,
huge,
unfortunately, readily available.
I think
but in a very
figures on
destructive
that,
way.
4 or 5 million. They get it cheaply from. They're bordering Afghanistan, the poppy fields of Kandahar.
Many, Also, I mean, it's a country full of chemists, and people with degrees, who know how to make chemicals, So I mean, it's not just
And when you have a limited amount of resources, then of course you've got to go to pharmacopoeia.
Well. But anyway, so I left Iran with not a very sort of positive outlook on the future and the possibility of the youth rebelling. And this Hamasa, the girl who was killed, and the reaction which came afterwards. I mean, is it an organised protest, or was it just desperation? It's just...
Well, it was led by women, wasn't it? So, speaking as a feminist myself, you need a few hard strategic heads that are going to go for the jugular. But it seemed to me the most beautiful revolutions are led by as many people as possible. And regimes these days, they do that divide and rule thing and oppression better than ever.
No, but it fizzle out in the end, or it had its kind of ran its course, and then there was some kind of compromise, and then the regime loosens up a bit. And I remember I've seen a few sort of shots, from journalists from Al Jazeera, standing in the streets of Tehran, and then you suddenly see women passing behind, without the veil, which we never saw, when we lived there. And it's just like, okay, so the regime is kind of let up because they have to let the steam. If they feel on top again, they'll be back, suppressing. It is ebb and flow,
Of course, they don't want an Arab Spring, do they? They want like a Persian Spring. Arab Spring, fuck no. Yeah.
Who knows what they want? They just want to...
But I think one of the main challenges for the development of Iran into a more, pluralistic kind of representative state is the fact that their army, it's like the PLA in China. The army is the biggest businessman. They're the biggest owner of properties, of businesses. In Iran.
But are you talking about the army, or are you talking about the Revolutionary
Guard? Yeah. Point taken. Yeah,
because that's two different things. Because the army, you have a normal army.
Militia.
You have a normal army, which is a conscript army. Which is. Army, but then you have
14 or the old
then
planes.
You have the true army, the loyal army, the ideologically
the SS,
the Sturmabteilung, the
obeying army, and and like we are going a little bit to like. If you think about, in a more general sense, about the borders, right? Like this is all post-colonial states we are talking about, and Iran is probably the best ethnically put country, right?
All put together in that they have their original borders.
Kinda, And what I want to say is that most of these regimes are like military regimes, that they are in power because of these loyal militias, because they build up their own army force, and then they impose their ideology on the whole state, and they overcome the military which already been there. The similar happened in Afghanistan, the similar happened in Sudan, the similar happened
in Pakistan again. But
sure. So this is the development there, and I really don't envy the position and the situation. And it just reminds me of the communist era in Europe. When you are under oppression of either a foreign government or your own, you're pretty much stuck. Then as an individual, you're very weak. Then when you gather in groups, you're still weak, less weak, but much more easily identifiable. So the government can target you as a whole group, and so you are kind of going on a suicide mission if you want to rebel.
To be the first one on the barricades. Yeah.
So these are hard questions difficult question to even think about.
Yeah.
Like I can understand why they have the young people have like this nihilistic approach, or are discouraged, or try to find just a way to just not think about it anymore.
A lot of escapism and that.
Yeah.
But that does lead to a lot of interesting subcultures, doesn't it, as well? Sort of fascinating. Some really interesting ingredients in the melting wok. But,
at best. But I mean,
but then
it's not
based on resources. The middle class. How big is the middle class? Because they're the ones that has the resources. Those bloody students.
But I don't. I mean, I don't know. They don't know. I mean, to be honest. But I mean, of course, Iran has been in a very negative spiral since we left, for example, and with you've had hyperinflation and a devaluation of the currency and that means. But what happens then? The middle class shrinks.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
So
that's what the latest I've read, that there is a definitive contraction of the middle classes, and that is never a good thing.
No.
So you don't just have like the urban differences to the rural differences. You've got a whole bunch of different people there. I mean, I think it's a Shia based, Sunni Shia. Shias are only 6-7% of Islam, and Sunnis like 90+. But so I believe I read somewhere that there are actually more practicing Sunnis in Iran than Shias, even though it's a Shia-based thing.
No,
so it might have been some Arab propaganda I was reading. Saudi.
I'm not. It doesn't really.
But like people there don't really care.
But I mean the thing. Well, I mean,
as long as you're not an Arab.
I just find that that can't be correct. I mean, of course you have the Turkmen, you have the Kurds.
Yeah.
They're all Muslim, and then you have the area where all the oil is on the west coast going down to Shiraz. I mean, of course they're Sunni. Afas is called, I think, this area. But I would have thought that the Fars, the Persians, were still the majority, and they're all officially Shia. And Iran is the biggest Shia. I mean, the biggest country of Shias, practicing far. Shia. So. Yeah, but I mean, I'm not going to,
but there's there's still a whole bunch of different types of beliefs and peoples and everything there, which does not compare to the homogeneous nature of Norway.
No, of course. I mean, you have Zoroastrians, you have a small, tiny, dwindling Jewish community, but of course there are less and less, and Sunni Muslim, Shia. Probably things that I don't know anything about.
Yeah, you got a couple of Druze starting a tavern up in the mountains, probably. So there's all types, and their history just goes back for thousands and thousands of years, just longer and longer.
But that's when you talk about Northern Europe, and even Britain. I mean, these countries have such an ancient history. I mean, when you look at the formation of city-states, and they go really, really way back.
And what had Britain invented by then? Probably the body tattoo.
Well, we did catch up.
we made up for it. We made up for it.
But
rule the seas. So that's so we've been through a lot of the stuff now. Their attitude to pets as an animal lover, consensual. We'd like to delve in certain recurring things and that? Do they treat their pets well? That's a mark of the civility of a caring, nurturing society, I think.
Well, I mean, after I think the Islamic regime, I mean, I don't know how it was before, but after the Islamic regime took power, I mean, dogs were discouraged, because there is this perception in Islam that dogs are unclean. And then
poor pigs, they're getting a bad rap.
No, well, I mean, they're not into eating pork anyway. But the Armenian Christians are allowed to keep pigs in Iran. But what they've done, I mean, this is what I've heard. I mean, I can't verify this.
Rumour from the streets.
A bit more than that. But I mean, that apparently the pigs have to be kept on a floor which is raised from the ground, so they don't actually are in contact with the soil of Iran. I mean, I really don't know.
Well, this sounds like
it
some...
could apocryph. Apocryphic is a word. But I mean, but I wouldn't put it past some... mullah in Qom making some fatwa or legal, decision. Yes, you can keep pigs as long as they're 40 centimeters above ground and don't,
So they don't eat their own shit either. Or pollute the holy soil of Persia.
Exactly.
Because all their carpets,
But anyway,
think about all their carpets.
But I mean, of course, cats you see everywhere.
Yeah.
But I mean, I saw a lot of
predator.
mangy cats in Iran. So I mean, they might claim to like cats, but they didn't treat them awfully well.
Well, the thing, you go anywhere below the Mason-Dixie line of Europe, then into the southern Europe, and they don't treat their pets very well. No. Okay, we'll jump over that then. And but Iran is not the only place that you've been that is culturally different, neurodivergent compared to Norway. You have, when me and my brothers, we're 3 brothers, right? And so we're all playing one of our heroes, characters and that, pretending to be. And our mythology was mostly based on characters by Larry Buster Crabbe. So my youngest brother, he was Buck Rogers, and my middle brother, he was like Flash Gordon, and that's about the limit of Buster Crabbe's acting range. So I ended up choosing Flash Gordon's cousin, Gordon. And I like to think that my Gordon was based on the cartoon version of the tragedy of a British general standing on his steps and really at tea time, sort of in his immaculate uniform, getting slaughtered by the masses because he's a bastard imperialist and he probably deserved it. That's a balanced view of things. But didn't the British establish Khartoum?
Yeah, but Gordon was hired by the Turco-Egyptian Empire.
He was someone else to blame.
No, but he was a hired hand, actually. I mean, this
mercenary,
is something... Well, kind of, yeah. I mean, at the time when he was governor of Sudan, I guess.
Yeah.
So he wasn't there... I think representing Her Majesty's government.
He wasn't in an official capacity.
No, I think he was a hired hand. But of course he was... I mean, he'd already made his name in China, I think.
Yeah. He was, he got opium back to the people. Yeah.
So,
the first drug war for drugs.
No, yeah.
Another great British invention.
In China, right?
But I think
2 of them.
But it could be the Turks who established Khartoum as a city. But Omdurman, which is the twin city, which is on the other side of the Nile, I mean, was settled already. So I mean, there's been settlement in
it's not like we put up a building in the desert.
But it's interesting. I mean, because Khartoum is a place where the White and the Blue Nile meet.
Yes,
this is a very important place.
It is a hub already, isn't it?
Yeah. So I mean. But I mean, I don't know very much about the sort of pre-history, but modern Khartoum was around 1840. I mean, the Turks invaded Sudan. I mean, long before.
back.
Before it was called Sudan in the 1830s, 1840s.
Right. So I should have been suspicious because Gordon was always depicted wearing that little kaffi. What's it called? Fez. Yeah,
yes.
the fez.
But that is a Turkish
cap.
Yes.
Yeah. So that yeah. So you're probably right. Yeah.
But I mean, of course, they suffered defeat by the
Kitchener.
The army.
The last person you want in the pantry.
No. But before that, I mean, they were defeated by the Mahdi troops because you had a sort of religious awakening in Sudan in the 1870s, led by a mysterious man called Muhammad Ahmed, who kind of managed to amass the Sudanese people or men, who then defeated this Turco-Egyptian power structure. Of course, it was around Khartoum in this area, and defeated the Turks and drove out the Turks, and then the Mahdi, as he was called, which is just the name of a religious, it's very much like Jesus, someone who comes
the
back.
Messiah.
It's a Messiah figure, but it was this man called Muhammad Ahmed, who was actually a boat builder by profession. They
found out who he was.
He's a real person.
They didn't just look him up in the telephone catalogue.
But it's a very generic name.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
But anyway,
yes, we're all Muhammad.
But he died. But the thing is, he died very short time after they defeated the Turks, and he was succeeded by the Khalifa, but from a Taish family, which is an Arab Darfurian family, but that doesn't matter anyway. But he introduced this very strict Islamic regime. Which was very harsh, and I mean that, and then they were again defeated by Kitchener, and the story, blah blah blah. Yeah.
So in a way, the Brits, they sort of defeated ISIS in a way then. Sort of, all the modern parallels are not.
It's a very strict Islamic regime, which probably was becoming increasingly unpopular amongst the Sudanese because it wasn't very,
So, to qualify, we should have started off with your links to Sudan are kind of outstriderish, aren't they? So beginning with your father, whom I've had the pleasure to converse with on at least 2 or 3 memorable occasions. A scholar, a professor, and he's sadly passed now, but he was one of the world's leading experts on specifically Darfur, the Janjaweed crazy part of Sudan.
Yeah, amongst other things. So I mean, he started his career writing about Darfur. So at least, and of course wrote a lot about Sudan, but he also wrote about Sufism and other things. So
and also your wife.
Yes, this by coincidence, really.
Yeah.
So my wife happens to be Northern Sudanese.
Yeah. So how did that? You mentioned a really nice anecdote when you've been to Sudan many times, of course.
Yeah, a few times. Yeah.
Yeah. And your wife, she's more integrated in Norway than I am. She's been here less time, but she's like a hydro engineer and stuff. So us Dancasters, we could dream, but we knew our level. You're working class, son. Well, I'm not even that. I'm more twerking class now, but hard twerking. So with your wife as well, she's from a Sufi family.
Well, not directly, but I mean, her family certainly has been connected to, the Sufi tradition, but so are most Sudanese, which is very interesting. And by the way, I mean, the Muhammad Ahmed movement, also sprang out of Sufi. I mean, his followers, came from these different Sufi, brotherhoods. When you say brotherhood, everyone thinks of the Islamic brotherhoods. Yeah. But brotherhood is something, it's like, I don't know, it's like Freemasonry, but it's not that either.
It's a group that gets together and
every week.
Not just to plan a jihad. I mean, no, but it's
social.
It is social, yeah.
It's social and religious, but it's also where everyone connects, you know, and.
I
mean,
it's like a community gathering.
Yes, basically. Exactly. And then you can belong to whatever kind of brotherhood where you feel at home, but some follow family tradition, you know, but others, you know, seek out, you know, maybe where your friends go, but some are a bit less accessible, more exclusive, you know, just because
like the Freemasons, you got Scottish rites for everybody, and then you got these weird Cyclops stuff.
But also, you know, of course,
the Illuminati.
Sudan is also a class society.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's
so
not
that reflects there. Or?
No, it can. It doesn't necessarily. It's very complex. And I don't know. I mean, I really know nothing. I mean, it's
understood.
And also geographical. You can have you know different. You know.
And historically, wasn't like what we call nowadays Sufism just some religious practice within Islam, like in general sense.
Yes.
So it wasn't necessarily like something different than what we call nowadays Islam, but it changed. Do you know where it kind of changed? Maybe when the Arabic or Arabs in a general sense claim more of like that Islam belongs to them, or this is my idea when I was just preparing myself, like where was the shift? Where was the shift that Sufism became some separate practice or so?
But I think Sufism has always been a part of Islam.
It's the mystical expression, it seems to me, of Islam, like the Gnostics or the self-flagellants of Christianity.
But I think that what happened is that at some point you had a movement but that's very recent in Islam, where you had the emergence of political Islam.
Exactly.
And the proponents of political Islam made Sufism their main enemy. You know,
okay.
You know, because basically saying that they're heretics. You know, what their practice isn't within the confines of what Islam should be.
Everyone hates you.
But that's quite recent, you know. But when we're talking recent, I mean, this started 200 years ago with this Muhammad Wahhab.
Wahhabism in Saudi.
But this started in. But he was a religious scholar, you know, who got these ideas. But they were there before that. But I mean, in newer times.
So it's more about the zeitgeist, basically, like what is popular at the time, because like there is a lot, like big palette of ideas, right? And even if you think about communism, like you can go back to the Bible and you can pick certain verses, and you could claim like, oh, Jesus was a communist.
Jesus
actually
was a lefty, yeah.
And because you can find the ideas already there and even before, but
miraculous healthcare. That's a commie idea, isn't it?
It seems to me like these ideas are just used at a certain time in the history when it's when you can basically use them. You have a sense for the population where it shifts, and you basically ride the
crazy
wave.
train.
You ride the wave, and
but like you were saying, that the as a religion, Islam is very accommodating, isn't it? So, but like Christianity as well, very accommodating.
It can be.
You follow the zeitgeist or the zeitgeist.
Well, it can be at its best. I mean, but I know Christianity and Islam better than others, but I mean, like you say, they are potentially very accommodating because they're very wide, and you know, you can interpret whatever way you want, and like you say, you can cherry pick, you know, from the Bible and build up a kind of theological argument for whatever you know
your political affiliations are
exactly, you know. And but if I was going to give give the Islamists at least the credit or the benefit that they probably felt that, or what they wanted. The project was, we need to get back to the pure original Islam, which is a perception they have in their head, which is probably just completely, which never existed. But they have an idea that we want to practice Islam like the way the Prophet did, in 500.
Yeah. When we invented algebra.
Yes, but it probably never was like that. Yeah. But that's a very modern idea.
Yeah.
What I mean.
I guess this is the same with every revisionist movement in a sense. Even if you apply it to your life, when I was a kid, that was the best time of my life. You forget all the shitty stuff that was going on.
Young and rebellious.
So you always romanticize the past. In opposition to nowadays struggles or you see troubles coming into your life and you explain it like, who is the guilty one? Who made it wrong to me?
You blame a minority.
Or your brother, sister, mother, father, whoever you can pick.
The elder generation.
So just to close this idea, so the revisionism, right? So and now if you apply it to a time you don't even know a person who lived at the times, because if you're like 80 when your father had you when he was like 50, then he will live maybe 40 years. So at your 40s you can talk to a person who lived 50 years more, so it's like 90 years. If you have a children and that's like he's 20, I'm doing really roughly the math, so you can know what was going on like 100 years ago. Or so,
with the,
right? So that directly,
the oral,
directly
conveying it,
So, and past that, there is always like room for romanticizing, big time.
Yeah, well, there always is, but the way the Sufis they're not Salafists or Wahhabis or any of these extremes, are they? That is important to say. That as in the Christian Gnostics, Bogomil's Manichaeism, there is the depth of knowledge is important, and getting to understand the God figure.
But I think it works on different levels, to be honest, when it comes to Sufism, again, without being an expert, because partly, let's say Sufism in Sudan, develops as like the popular practice of Islam, and the thing is that I regard all religion basically as superstition, but that's just my personal point of view. But let's say, there is the difference between religion in its more traditional sense or stricter sense, how the church or the mosque says this is how it should practice, and then what happens out in the streets. And then you get, because people are suspicious or gossips or things, things inexplicable things happen in life, and then you start, you have the worship of saints, and then you have, you do juju and all these things, and that becomes integrated into religion. And certainly, certainly, there are aspects, I think, of Sufism which have certainly practices which aren't Islamic in the strict sense of the word, and certainly you have personality cults, and you have these Sufi sheikhs, and some of them, obviously, I'm sure were charlatans, and you
had to
do
be.
you understand? You've got a popular following, you've got a lot of, followers, and
they says it in the Quran.
and also, I have friends who are scholars, you know, and I've never experienced it myself, but I mean, in the big sort of mass Sufi rituals in Khartoum, they have these huge crates, you know, of smoke which they're swinging, and they're filled with cannabis. So basically, they're getting just really stoned, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean,
well, that's enlightened.
Yeah,
sounds very
but I mean,
progressive.
But I mean, if
course,
you, but if you spoke to
the early monks, scraped mildew and mould off their walls to get
don't you
high.
see that's a mass? That's
Yes.
mass.
Yeah.
A mass experience, like, you know, people go to a rock concert. I mean, I don't know. It's a bit.
Well,
the
we're
same
going to have a
dynamic.
special on cults and that.
Yeah, but I mean,
but the Sufism it's.
But then you have
it's
something else, and then you have, you know, Sufism on a very high level where you know you have
Higher
some
than the
some of the
cannabis.
brothers, which they frown upon, you know, which is, I mean, the more exclusive or more highbrow and highbrow. No, but some of these people who are, you know, from the, you know, Hashemite, they can claim to be descendants of the Prophet. And you have some of these brotherhoods, or one at least that I know.
Saladin was a Sufi.
Yeah,
One of the
he was
greatest
Kurdish,
general.
but he was
Kurdish
Kurd.
Sufi.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. That was probably quite normal.
Yeah.
But anyway, they have a different approach, which is more intellectual, where the you know, through meditation or prayer, they would call it, you know, you try to reach oneness with God. I remember when I was in Iran, I read this paper written by Khomeini when he was a young scholar, because he also explored Sufism as a young scholar.
Really?
Yeah, and he wrote, he wrote on Sufism, you know.
that wasn't detrimental?
Absolutely not. I mean, it was very very interesting, but incredibly abstract.
Well, he's hobnobbing with the literati in these Parisian salons at the time.
Way before that. When he was in his 20s. I mean, long before he went to exile or anything. I mean, you know, so, you know, it's anyway.
Yeah.
But I think I'll leave it at that. I mean, I just feel there's so many people who know so much more about it than me, and they're, oh God, Dominic going on about Sufism.
Yeah, well, you're only on here so that we don't look totally thick, isn't that right? So yeah, you're one of my most intelligent friends. So,
but I have a lot of respect for the tradition too, so I'd rather not say anything wrong.
No, exactly. I understand that for sure. You know, the times, one of the things, the hospitality, politeness, good food, all that kind of stuff, that's so easy to overlook in Sudan. You had a really nice anecdote.
About my brother and I.
Yeah, you and your brother.
No, because this is the same Sufi tariqa, which my father was connected to just through writing the first book, which was the biography of the founder of this brotherhood. And the first biography ever written in any language, my father wrote. Just some Irish English scholar.
The first biography?
Yes, of the founder of this tariqa, which was Sayyid Ahmed ibn Idris, who was a Moroccan who went to Mecca and founded a tradition and was in a constant argument with Muhammad al-Wahhab. Yeah. So they were arguing about Islam.
Whoa.
Because they were obviously on the...
Pelagius and Augustine in early Christian
different
stuff.
sides.
Yeah.
But the thing is that he had followers or students, and some of them settled in Sudan. So they found, and some of them settled in Indonesia, some of them settled in Libya, and blah 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 blah. Anyway, so
Diaspora.
the Idrisiya or the Adarasa Sufi brotherhood started developing, and it's like 250 years ago.
Yeah.
So anyway, so there was one group in Sudan. So my father got in touch, got to know about this tariqa through a student of his who was Sudanese and got introduced. And so he ended up writing about Sayyid Ahmed ibn Idris. That was amazing. That was just no one had done it before.
Yeah.
And then his book was translated into Arabic too. But it's a bestseller in Indonesia, I think.
Right.
Malaysia.
Portrayed
No,
on-
sorry, not Indonesia, Malaysia. But
Yeah,
anyway,
Farsi
I think,
as well, I guess.
Probably Urdu, I know.
Yeah.
But because you have offshoots in Pakistan.
Exactly.
But anyway, so we were connected to this brotherhood. So my brother and I, we remember we were there in 2010. And we sort of, with one of my wife's cousins, we just sort of popped by the mosque and the compounds. It was quite a big area, you know. And they were, but because we had Magdalene's cousin, you know, this is, you know, the O'Fahey sons, you know, just want to come and say hello. Yeah. And we hadn't made an appointment. Of course, I just
You turned up out the blue.
Yes, and they were like, "Oh, come in." They were like, you know, it was like, and these very sort of distinguished older men, and they were sort of into the front room, and then suddenly this huge plate of food. And in Sudan, you have these big tin round plates, you know, with just appeared, you know, with all this food.
Portion.
And it looked like it'd been sort of slightly disturbed. And then my brother and I looked at it and said in Norwegian, "I tror we took noe sin mat."
You stole someone else's food. You know, someone just getting ready to tuck in. I said, "Oh no, special guests."
And we felt so...
not guests again.
Yeah, no, we weren't. You know, we weren't really hungry, but I mean, it's their
but
way.
you had to eat
because
something.
we just had lunch.
You
or
had to
something.
eat enough,
of
so it
course.
couldn't be returned to the people who wanted.
Hopefully, it would. You know,
Well, they had to make some more. It took me 2 hours to make. Boiling.
But they know anyway, and it had nothing to do with my brother and I, but it's got to do with my father, which they really held in a lot of respect. You know, obviously because he was some random white man scholar who wrote this book about the founder of their brotherhood, which is so
respect
exotic.
For elders. You hear that, Sebastian? That is a qualifier of true civilization and sophistication, mate.
But I mean, if it sounds exotic to us, it's equally exotic for them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? To have this.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so it's exotic in any way you turn.
Yeah, he wouldn't last 5 minutes in the desert. So that pale skin.
No, he did. That's another thing. He was riding around on a donkey in Darfur in the middle of in 66,
with his Irish
67.
complexion.
Yes, doing all his research, going through
Mad Dog's
document.
Irishman in the midday sun. Yeah.
I've got pictures. This is but with a big hat.
A wide brim.
And huge sunglasses.
That helps as well.
So no, he actually, believe it or not.
But after you've been talking about those ceremonies swinging around the smokestacks and that, I understand why that evil guerrilla group are called the Janjaweed. So, pretty nasty. And then now, Sudan is even 2 countries now. Isn't it? Because you've got South Sudan and the original Sudan.
Well, 2. I mean, it's going to be might split in the middle.
This is only just the beginning.
East and then West, and then if the Nuba manage to kind of free themselves, I don't know.
I mean, it can never be a good idea to get European imperialists to define all your borders, to make your borders, when we still haven't sorted out our own.
Yeah.
So how ridiculous is that? It's just not a good concept. We were going to go into Leopold from the Congo and Europe and borderlines, but we're borderline enough here. You had an interesting thing about the Nazi film documentary Oscar winner for the when she filmed
Leni
und something about the Olympics. Leni Riefenstahl.
She of course she was hired by Goebbels and she made all these German Nazi propaganda films in
very
the 30s.
Aesthetic.
Very aesthetic. What's it called? The Rights of Man, or what's it called? Where this Nuremberg, with these big rallies.
The Nuremberg rally,
She filmed all. She was a very talented young female filmmaker.
Yeah, the rights of the right man.
Yeah, well, anyway, of course, her career went slightly downwards.
Triumph of the Spirit.
Exactly.
Triumph of the Spirit.
She made that. So, but of course, in 45, she
her star had faded somewhat, So,
but then she had to reinvent herself. So I think what she did,
like all the Nazis did.
Yeah. But I mean, she was quite sort of
She could frame a shot.
Yeah, brazen. So she went to Sudan and made this documentary about the Nuba people, which are this very specific ethnic group who live on the border between the north and south of Sudan, in north-south Kordofan and going downwards. And they are, I think, mostly Muslim, some Christian, probably some. I don't think they're animist anymore. I think they've been Muslim.
They've got to choose, pick one or the other.
No, but
and they're fighting everybody basically to be independent.
Well, yeah, they want. I think they want to be left alone.
Well, it's understandable, isn't it?
And
we can make a better job than.
But they have this wrestling tradition. She made this film very much about the Nuba people and the wrestling, and that's what in the 50s.
Übermensch now, can I look?
No, and it was her probably trying to rehabilitate herself. Look, I'm,
yeah, exactly.
Filming exotic people.
Be racist.
No. But it's horrible. I mean, just as an anecdote, Bashir used. It's been proven that he used gas which he got from Saddam against the Nuba people
from Halabja down.
I think I don't know what this has more or less been.
He was a massively evil bastard
against the Nuba people because they've been because of course the southern Sudanese were fighting the northern Sudanese, the SPLA, SPLM, but then the Nuba joined the southerners and made their own SPLM North or N, and they kind of still exist and they're still sort of trying to defend their home territories, which is. Yeah.
But there is the Nubermensch aspect of the Nuba people as well. They're brilliant wrestlers, perfect for the UFC, for MMA.
I'm sure they are, but but another
they've got a tradition of wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. But a lot of the. Particularly southern Sudanese from the Dinka and the Nuer tribes. They're about the tallest people in the world. Right. And many of them went to the NBA. They went to the NBA and became basketball players,
Yeah.
But they're just so tall.
Yeah. They have to bend to put it in the net.
Yes,
or in the
probably.
Hoop. Yeah.
They are the tallest people in the world.
Yeah.
Competitive advantage.
Yes,
it is.
That's what you
exactly.
need.
The Nubermensch, indeed. So Reefi was probably thinking, we cross-geneticize some cross-hybrid here. We get back to Africa, where the primal genes are. That's where you want to sort out your Levi's. So, that's. You went through it. Is there any point going through all the chaos in South Sudan now? Because it's the SLNPA, PC, LGBTQ. There's so many acronyms there that it makes Syria look simple.
No, I haven't kept abreast with the latest, but
I support the pygmies.
But it's the main conflict is between two ethnic groups.
Yeah,
the two biggest ethnic groups, which is the Dinka and the Nuer. And the Dinka, of course, the president's called Salva Kiir, so he's running the show, but he's very old and probably he's struggling to get with it. Yeah. And then they're fighting. Yeah, and then that's SPLM, and then you have the SPLM. They have an extra acronym added, but that's run by the Nuer head.
Right. They got their own little enclave. I knew all these about a week ago, but it's gone. Yeah.
Anyway, so you have the two factions, but it's a mess.
And you got bastards from Russia, Iran, and different places on the one side fueling the conflict. But now how the Brits used to do it.
But now in the south, you're talking about South Sudan.
We're talking about the south, a fresh new country, isn't it? And then of course on the other side you've got the United Arab Emirates.
But now in the north, are we or still in the south?
We're in the south now, but Darfur, that is in the north, the north west as you can go.
Darfur has always been a part of Sudan.
Yeah, it's Chad right next door. You got
Libya in the north.
Yeah, so it's desert. I saw you wearing a cap with "Make Maghreb Great Again." Sort of, but mate, the Sahel.
No, but I don't know if I don't even want to get into
there's some
the
good minerals there.
Sudan conflict.
It's best to avoid.
It's just very complex.
Yeah, luckily in Norway, the only ethnic problems we have is with you blokes from Eastern Europe. But no, we got the Lapps and that. We treated them pretty badly, and but now they're getting subsidised for having so many reindeer. But it was Lap Day the other day, so I did a bit of a yoik to myself in the shower in tribute for Norway's own ethnically vibrant and diversified community.
Show us the yoik.
The yoik. Oh, you want me to do a yoik live? No, I'm not going to embarrass. No, that would be cultural expropriation. Yeah. So I'll do it on the Patreon for the Patreon version. Any other thoughts then, Dominic? Oh, bloody hell! Whack-and-roll, we forgot to talk about your music career, mate. Yeah, and you're playing, you were a member of Pogo Pops, one of the biggest pop bands. You were big in Nippon. I'm going really quickly through all my notes here. And you're playing this Thursday. So it's Tuesday now, year of our Lord 25.
What?
Yeah, something.
25.
Yeah, in the year of the snake. Chinese calendar, so it's time to rejuvenate our foreskins, shed our foreskins and become new and whole. Right, that's that. And then are you looking forward to playing on stage again on Thursday?
Yeah. No, I am. It's just
guitarist. Dominic's a great guitarist.
Yeah, well, sure, I'm good.
And he sings way better than me, but that's not saying much.
Now I'm singing a song which I haven't sung before, and I just noticed that to memorise lyrics is a bit more challenging now than it was
that's
in
the
my
only thing I'm good at now. That's about 90% of the cerebellum capacity.
No, I'm looking forward to it. But I mean, it's going to be.
Hey, well, I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to be filming your faux pas when you stage dive onto a bunch of middle-aged women. MILF magnet, mate. I'm sorry, at your cervix. So I'm going to be there filming some stuff for your intro, and that's and it is kind of like a tribute thing for dear old Frank, who was your cousin, the front guy in Pogo Pops and Popium, and tragically passed. So shout out to him. And I hear that there's the young lady who's doing some of the vocals. From Ephemera.
Yes, that's right.
I thought they wouldn't last. They're a one-hit wonder at the most. But
they weren't an ephemeral after all.
Yeah. A passing fad. The first gig they did, I organised it.
Oh.
So with the Norway organised the music office for bands. It sounds like a contradiction in terms, and it was. But that's the first time they played live, and that's so I'm still waiting for my guest list ticket thing here and that. So no, but I bought it already, mate.
All right.
Support a worthy cause. Yeah, but I will be able to get backstage and remunerate myself with a few brewskis, I hope. So you've got to learn those lyrics, haven't you, mate? It's 2 days now. Do you remember any of the songs?
No, of course. I mean, the songs that
they're embedded.
Exactly. I mean, the songs that I played. I mean, but there are some new songs there which I also have to.
Oh, bloody hell!
Yes, from after I left the band.
From Frank's solo.
But it's so cool in Viggo, the guitarist.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I would never deign to ask, but it's sort of, he won't tell me, the keys or the chords or anything.
I don't understand. People keep telling me that, and I don't understand it already.
It's just that it's just unmentioned that you just figure out how the song goes.
Yeah, A minus in C.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just great.
Yeah.
So I had to first sort of learn these songs,
Yeah, right.
But from listening to them, sit there with Spotify.
Yeah.
Oh, what is that?
Well, the thing is, Viggo, he's a teacher, so he has that pedagogical mindset as well. He seems as long as I've known him, he's very patient, and he's a good conveyor of information.
Yeah, but he didn't. That's my whole point. He didn't tell me anything.
No, that's the best way. So, yeah.
That's like the Japanese.
That's how we like it.
That's like the Asian wisdom, you know.
Yeah, Wu Wei. Don't get involved. But that's how we roll at Autodidact University. Yeah. There's nothing you can tell us that'll stick. We have to.
So So I figured out all that. So it's just the lyrics.
Yeah. Well, luckily, it won't be any of my long-winded Abbath lyrics with the whole cosmological level. So it'll be simpler truths, more from the heart. And looking forward to it, Dominic.
Thanks.
So I was going to go into techno-feudalism, the true serfs of the interweb. The fuckopolics. I was going to go, you think Musk sweats, but fuck that. We won't do that. So you've got to get home and practice for your gig. And me and Sebastian, we have people to see, places to be. We got to plug the podcast. So thanks for taking us around the world a bit, mate. That sounds a bit like some sexual position. Yeah, enough of that.
In your head.
Yeah,
in your head.
Yeah, it's bigger on the inside. But thanks a lot, Dominic. Anything else you want to say except shut the fuck up, Simon?
No.
Okay. That Iranian politeness, I really like that. Cheers, Joe. Thanks to everyone out. Thank you, sir. Someone has to say, I've been hinting at it the last half hour. We could have been done half an hour ago, mate. We could have learnt half the lyric by now. But thanks a lot, Dominic. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks a lot.